Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the ReQuest, and there's also a comic vault. It's a hybrid show, you know, sort of like electric and gasoline. I'm Captain Logan, and joining me as always is my wonderful co-host Austin the Day Ghost. Austin, thank you for.
No one's gonna get that gas thing. That was off camera.
No, I know it was off camera, but it still works okay. Not related, you know.
But it's not as funny. There's like a whole trip
it's a metaphor.
Go on.
No, that's true. If you're with us the last 4 or 5 minutes.
Exactly.
Anyway, but we finally got another comic request. We haven't done one of these in a little while. It's been a lot of movies and TV things lately. I guess TV. I guess mostly movies, right?
Yeah, I feel like it's been like a couple movies and TV stuff we've definitely done recently. I don't know.
Well, Austin, thanks for it. All runs together at some point. Thanks for continuing to watch and read random things on a weekly basis with me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
Austin has been my co-host for this now for going on 4 years, I think.
Well, in this specifically,
or at least
like
3.
I feel like with this show specifically, we're on 2. I think.
Is that right? See, I thought even ReQuest you'd been doing for like a third year now.
No, but I also like you were doing a lot of stuff before then, but I could be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like it all blends together.
Yeah, well, I just really appreciate having another host on this. These conversations are much better when it's not just me off on my own, I think. Anyway, tonight we're going to delve into the Injustice prequel. This is Injustice Year Zero, which was a digital first thing, like I think most of, if not all of Injustice, was. It's possible... and I'm rusty on this stuff, and I haven't read all of this, but it's possible that Injustice 2 was just a monthly comic and didn't come out digital, but everything else did. And this came out in 2020, and this is one that I didn't read. Austin and I have reviewed, and this was, by the way, requested by Amalgam Nation on Patreon. Thanks a lot to him, and sorry about the wait, like I've been having to say with everybody lately. But I quoted him a week. He asked about it a few weeks ago, and we had to jumble some things around, so I'm even extra late on his. So apologies to Amalgam Nation, but we're getting to it now. So Austin and I, a while back, maybe even a couple years ago now, reviewed The First Year, which is a book that I started like 4 or 5 times and finally read all of for review with Austin, and then I was all geared up to read the second year, and we ended up reading Deceased, also by Tom Taylor, which we liked quite a bit, and which, by the way, is getting a board game iteration like Marvel Zombies. They just had their Kickstarter for that with as another zombie side variant. So quick plug for that. That looks pretty cool. And I don't know if I'm going to get into that. I've gotten into Marvel Zombies really hard. I don't know if I'm also going to do that. You'd think those would cross and you can play them together, but they are different enough that looks difficult to do. So I can't get super excited about
lame.
it. It is lame because it would be the only board game or card game in a long time that got both licenses.
Mm-hmm. Damn. I was going to say, at least get Batman. That way you can be like, look, I'm a Marvel fan and a fan of Batman.
Yeah, well, I do have one Batman board game that has miniatures, but it's not a thing that has a bunch of expansions and stuff. And I haven't played it yet, but I bought it because the miniatures are really pretty. None of this has anything to do with anything. I just brought that up to say we did a Tom Taylor thing, and then we were going to go back to Injustice, and like with so many things, time got away from us, and we were reviewing other comics, and it never got requested by anybody, so hopefully at some point we'll get back to that. But I also, Austin, lost interest a little bit because I started hearing nothing but bad things as it progresses. They're like, people really like the first year, and then they tell me it all goes downhill from there.
Yeah, I'd never really heard that until the movie came out, and then it was like, oh, look at all these bad parts. And I'm like, oh, that's what happens later on in the comic. And
yeah,
like,
that's when I heard that too. We reviewed that. That was insufferable.
Oh, it's terrible.
That movie is painful, and like with some of those direct-to-video adaptations, seem to completely miss the point of that story.
Mm-hmm. No, it's brutal.
But that was unfortunate. Amalgam Nation is there with us. I wish we'd been keeping a tally, Austin, of when the requester is in the live comments.
Just to say it, or like will we just have like on record where we're like, this is how many times it's happened?
I just think it'd be cool to have a record of it, just to have the percentage of like, because it seems like they show up a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It
That is
seems like
true.
nearly every review, the person that requested it does pop up for at least a minute in the comments. It's just really cool. I don't know. It's probably like 70 or 80%. Austin is not impressed.
No, I'm just trying to think of like when this would come up. Like
He's
every
like,
now and then you'd be like,
why
it's
do you
the
want to? Because
request.
I want to know that. Because I have analytics on YouTube for everything else. Why can't I know that too?
Like this show is 80% chance of the viewer actually watching it live.
Hey, look, I don't have to talk about it. I just want to know.
That's fair.
Anyway, so weirder aspect ratio on the screen because I didn't get the physical version of this or get digital scans of it in physical, so I'm looking at the original digital release. So they're like half pages. That's how you always had to read those, which is really awkward for me. I don't like that format. I want it to be a regular comic page, but I couldn't find it that way with this. So anyway, that's why we're looking at it weird on the screen. And like I said, this is a prequel. This is kind of setting up the events that happen at the start of Injustice before Superman loses Lois and slowly but surely becomes a fascist dictator. Injustice is, in its way, less of an Elseworlds and, in my mind, more of a what if. That story very much, despite the weird outfits, that story very much to me feels like the DC universe has more or less happened the way you remember it up until this really unfortunate inciting incident where everything goes south after that. And so the very notion of an Injustice prequel was a little bit off-putting, to be honest, Austin, honestly. It does fill in a couple of blanks here and there if you needed them filled in. I gotta tell you, I didn't. But part of the idea of this seems to be, well, I mean, some of it to me is just milking it for all it's worth. Like, what's something else we haven't done with Injustice yet? Well, we didn't see, the moments right before Injustice actually starts. Let's go back and do that. I don't know, with this particular thing, I don't know why we needed that. It's cool with Marvel Zombies. I don't need it with this. But it seems like one of the main kind of mission statements with this for Tom Taylor was where does the Joker get the idea for the insidious plot against Superman? Like, why does he have it out for Superman at the start of that story when Superman, of course, is not his primary arch nemesis? And this gives us an answer for that, and sort of in its way gives you an answer for why the heroes might be a little bit more primed in this universe to go down a darker path once Superman starts to lose his mind. We can discuss whether that works and it sticks to the landing, but I feel like that's kind of the other mission statement with this, Austin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would agree. Basically on all those points, that those are kind of the two things he wants to do, and this does read kind of cash-in-y, especially so late. Like, this comes out in 2020, and we're what, 3 years past Injustice 2?
Yeah, so this would have been one of, if not the last things that happened with this, because I'm pretty sure the Injustice 2 comics were coming out simultaneous with that game, like shortly after that game came out. So you've already had a sequel, and there is also a thing called Ground Zero, not to be confused with Year Zero, because this is comics. So even though there are only a couple of different things with titles for Injustice, we have to have confusing ones. It's comics. That's important. We're lucky there's not a 0 issue or a -1 or a point whatever.
This is also the same company that just started the Absolute universe that also prints Absolute editions.
I hate it. I hate it so much. They're going to have absolutes.
I know.
Eventually. But you know what? That's on brand for the Ultimate thing, since that's DC's version of Ultimate, because Ultimate was the line that gave you Ultimate Comics presents Ultimate Spider-Man.
But at least that came later. This is starting weird. And we all know the real name is just the Nothingverse.
Yeah, exactly. It's the Nothingverse.
It's the Nothingverse.
Now, to be fair, I haven't tried any of that yet. I think it started.
Yeah, I've heard good things about the Superman one and not as good things about Batman, but I'll probably check those out at some point.
I don't know how that Batman could possibly be any good. Just on the face of it. Like, it'll shock me if I read that and it's any good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
But just the bulkiness of that suit, and did they do a thing where like he lives in his Batmobile, or he's like got like a Bat Cave Batmobile
He's got like
that
a giant
seems
Batmobile, yeah.
impractical to take anywhere? It's like if Batman lived in one of those deluxe playsets.
He should have just the Bat RV.
It should be called Absolute Batman. It should be called Imagine Next Batman. But anyway, well, Austin, would you give us a quick... I'm in a mood tonight.
I know, we're just reviewing everything except this.
Everything we can think of that's tangentially almost related to this. Welcome live. Thanks for watching. I see a few people in the comments there, and I appreciate you checking this out after the fact as well. If you're watching live, Austin and I are going to stick around right after this and do yet another edition of, part 915 of our top 100 favorite superhero movies of all time. We'll try to knock at least 10 more down tonight, so stick around for that if you're so inclined. Austin, would you give us a little synopsis of what happens in Injustice Year Zero, which, by the way, I don't think we're looking at a whole year of events here, but okay. Like, I guess it's just called that because all the other Injustice comics are year 1 through 5, so now it's Year Zero. Like, could you give us a year of stuff that it doesn't feel like this takes a year?
It's got that thing that Batman Year 2 does, where that has the same thing, where it's just, here's just a Batman story.
Didn't take a whole year. I mean, with Batman, it works a little better because it's like, here's the thing that happens in the second year, but I thought with Injustice, the conceit was you're looking at a whole year of events. Maybe you're not. Maybe it's just here's the major things that happen in the first year, in the second year.
Mm-hmm.
We're splitting hairs at some point.
What it is. It was more so just that's what year 1 is, and then year 2 isn't, which is I always thought was kind of weird.
That's fair. And then hilariously, Long Halloween does take place over an entire year. It does not have year in the title.
Mm-hmm. And then so does Dark Victory.
I'm sorry, I'm just trying to keep up the theme of reviewing.
Yeah, we're just reviewing everything.
Everything else.
Well,
yeah.
that also has a sequel that is just coming out now that has a terrible title.
Oh, what is it? I don't remember.
It's Batman the Long Halloween : The Final Halloween.
Oh, okay. So then, well, that gets back into Justice Comics presents Ultimate, Ultimate Comics presents Ultimate
and it
Spider-Man.
should just be Batman the Final Halloween. Like, that's the
sure.
title.
There you go.
I also don't really want to read that because it's without Tim Sale, but that's
I don't want to read that either. I'm sure we'll end up reviewing that at some point. Well, I say that. I haven't done all of the Dark Knight Returns sequels.
No, very true. We can do that and Hush 2 back to back once that comes out. Keeping the theme of reviewing everything.
I don't like that that's even happening. Doesn't this all smell of desperation?
I mean, yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure we're on the same page on this. Hey, Austin, what happens in Injustice Year Zero?
Yes, Injustice Year Zero. So we open with there's a prisoner in Arkham. I'm trying to think of what his name is. It's blanking on me because he's like the thing that kicks it off, and then we get rid of him.
I forget his first name. His last name is like Chivard. Yes,
that's right. Something Chivard. And I guess it's Blackgate, not Arkham. Anyways,
that's very important, Austin.
No, exactly. People are gonna riot.
Andre Chivard.
There we go, Andre Chivard. So he finds out that he's gonna die.
He sounds like a Star Trek captain.
And they're not gonna let him out. And he gets the Joker to break him out, and he's like, "Joker, like if you break me out, I will take you to the ultimate power." Which is a thing that the Nazis had back in World War II, which is this amulet that it just lets you like control people. And things
yeah,
like
it's just a mind control device.
Yeah, exactly.
Joker gets his hands on that and basically has the plot that I was sort of kind of expecting him to have in the Suicide Squad movie.
Oh,
except not with mind control in that, but just with having the detonator that would blow up people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to think of everything else that we can review through this. Sorry, good.
Well, that's kind of what happens in Assault on Arkham, so that's another thing we can throw in there.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Not exactly.
These covers are so freaking lazy. And not all of them, or maybe all of them, I'm not sure, but a lot of these, they just take a panel from the book, not even always great panels, and they just make it the cover. And if you're thinking, well, when they released this in singles, where they have the regular aspect ratio or the regular page, size, they must have had like an actual original cover. No, it's just this blown up.
Which is weird because it's also like a different. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't.
Well,
I don't
there's
know
more.
things
There's
work.
more to the image. They stretch it further, and then you get to see the rest of Superman's legs. But I mean, seriously, look at this. There's the cover. There's the first panel. Come on now. What are we doing? What are you showing me here?
It's even worse that it's the first panel.
Yeah, I know. It's not like that with all of them. And some of them are the coolest panels, but there wasn't anything especially impressive in this. Like, this isn't terrible art. By the way, I think we're using maybe different artists through this. I wasn't looking real close at the credits, but the art seems to kind of jump around in style.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so too, but I also didn't really look into it.
I'm so listening to your synopsis.
Yeah, and there's also like an evil Dr. Fate helmet that is like the Chaos helmet, and Joker wants to get that.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, and the Justice Society are there, and they're being celebrated by the Justice League as like their heroes, the ones before them. And then Joker's plan brings them in because it was something that they dealt with, and then he's slowly picking them off one by one. And Batman, like the rest of the Justice League, are all trying to stop this. And then there's also like a weird Harley tangent where she leaves and hangs out with Harley Quinn for an issue.
Or hangs out with Poison Ivy.
Or what did I say?
You said Harley Quinn hangs out with Harley Quinn.
Oh yeah, I think I almost said that to you earlier today, where I was like,
if that were true, that would mean that Harley Quinn goes to Las Vegas and gets proposed to by Harley Quinn.
I mean, I could dig it. Yeah, so then it just becomes this whole thing of stopping the Joker, who gains godlike abilities, and then they do. And he gets the idea to do injustice through that.
Yep. And that's what happens. And there's this whole subplot where Superman is kind of questioning his... like the status of his legacy and whether he's got it as good as somebody like Batman because he doesn't have children and he doesn't know if he can have children. He also finds out through the course of this that he can, because that's also setting up the Lois pregnancy, because, spoilers for Injustice, but part of the reason he goes off the deep end isn't just he loses Lois. It's not exactly a BVS thing, but it's also she was with child and nobody realized it. Mm-hmm. And so this is thematically setting that whole idea up. Well, and also story-wise, because it's them finding out in the first place that they can't have children. And I don't know how much I bought into that whole idea. I thought Superman was a little out of character with that whole thing. We can talk about it. But this idea that in this universe, it might be more likely, maybe in any universe, I don't know, but like if Superman desperately wants a child to carry on his lineage and feels like no matter how much good he does, and I'm trying to get to a more relevant panel. No matter how much good I'm just not gonna find it. There's Superman. Oh look, Superman's on a page. And talking to Lois, there we go. Now it's relevant. No matter how much good he does or how much positive influence he has over the world, it doesn't really count if he doesn't leave somebody behind that carries on that legacy, which is, to me, kind of an odd angle. I can see it as a thing that he might be preoccupied by, but the idea that because he loses that, the kind of insinuation there is because he loses his offspring, because Lois was pregnant, now he has no legacy at all, and that's really the thing that puts him down the deep end. Not so much just how much he loved Lois and how much he wanted to raise a child with her. That was a wrinkle I didn't need. I just didn't feel like that's what Injustice was about. And I think that there's some kind of retroactive ideas with this that kind of muddle up the point and the ideas of that series. And I'm always a little trepidatious about prequels because it's so easy to do that, and I think
Mhm.
this kind of runs into some prequelitis issues with that. Not so much continuity wise. I don't know Injustice like crazy well, but of the stuff that I've read and like what I know, I didn't see anything that just directly contradicted anything that happens. But there were some things that just did feel really retroactive to me, where I didn't feel like this is a great starting place. And I think Amalgamation told me that the reason he requested this is he actually did read this first, and then it made him want to read more. I kind of wondered if I would have that if I read this first, because having read more of Injustice before this, it did feel really retroactive to me, really hindsighty.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. I definitely had that. I would say more with the Justice Society thing. There's a point where I forget who it is. Maybe it's Batman at the beginning. There's a point where we kind of where we say that if the Justice Society were there all along, injustice wouldn't have happened. And I thought that was really weird. I think that's on maybe like the first page.
Yeah, it just felt like kind of overcompensation. Where again, one of the things I like about Injustice is that there's a clear branch off point to more or less the regular DC universe. It's more interesting if all of these characters have it in them in the first place, just because they're flawed human beings. They're mortals just like the rest of us, even if they have superpowers. And maybe they could buy into an extreme ideology if they were scared enough, or if something really personal was at stake for them, or if somebody they really trusted was telling them the wrong things. But well, hey, it's Superman, so I'm going to follow him no matter what. Surely he knows what he's doing. And so to have to add something on top of it, like, well, the original Golden Age superheroes that really had, the their feet on the ground and the right morality. Like, if we lose them, we lose ourselves, and maybe that's more of the real reason, or a big part of why they all kind of go downhill. It takes us to too much of a Watchmen place, like
Yeah, I was
in the
thinking
first
Watchmen a lot.
place. I felt like, because I mean, injustice is kind of a cynical idea in the first place, but the whole idea of it is just kind of an interesting theoretical. What if this one horrible thing happened? Like, could we buy that Superman could go that way, become a fascist dictator, drag everybody else down with him? I don't think you need this compensation.
Hmm.
Do you have this thing that affects everybody else that also could maybe take them to that place?
Hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. I was also thinking of Watchmen a lot in this, and it made it much more of that. Like, here's like our great kind of golden age heroes, and then here's like the newer ones that are a bit darker. Like that is. Then you have like the not that Watchmen's like a murder mystery, but that's what it tries to make you think at first, and like you kind of have an element of that where Joker's taking out the Justice Society members.
Well, Watchmen is a lot more of a murder mystery than this is,
Well, I just mean in
because
that like it's not exactly what Rorschach thinks it is, so it's not entirely that they're killing off all the team members.
sure, but there is a mystery
Yeah.
for him and for the audience. We think it's a murder mystery for a
Mhm.
long time. That's one of the criticisms I want to lob at this, and I want to know if how you feel about it, Austin. Do you think this is one of those situations where the story is more interesting if we're with our heroes investigating? Like, we watch Batman figure out things we know already, or is this just such a kind of Saturday morning cartoon plot that it wouldn't be a very compelling or exciting revelation when we finally get to it? Like, I'm of two minds about it, because on the one hand, I want it to be a mystery because it is for everybody else. And then on the other hand, when the answer to the mystery, as we know all along, would turn out to just be the Joker is mind controlling people.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like it's kind of caught between two things, where it's like on the villain side, it's like an Indiana Jones adventure, where it's like here's like the artifact that we're all going after, and then on the other side, it's like a murder mystery, and because of that, I don't think either really has the strength that it needs. Because on the murder mystery side, like you're right, we already have all the answers, and you're just kind of watching Batman piece things together uh, later than when we already have the information. And then on the other side, it's an Indiana Jones adventure where there's no conflict because only they're on the adventure. So it's like they just go and they get the thing.
Yeah, it's not everybody after a MacGuffin and who's going to get to it first.
Hmm. Yeah, and I feel like their side is more that, and then the hero side is more like a murder mystery.
One thing that was really odd about this for me, and once again, I'm going to have to reference something that most of our listeners will not be familiar with, and it's always either Star Trek or The Tick, and this time it's The Tick again. Austin, this plot, or at least the setup for it, is like really oddly. I want to know if Tom Taylor is familiar with this episode because he seems like a cartoon guy to me, and I think when he's really playing to his strengths, he does like dark Saturday morning cartoon writing, which is why I don't really need like a compelling mystery plot from him because that's not his strength is like crazy things like the Emperor Joker all powerful crazy Joker thing and that kind of stuff. Like I feel like he in some ways is what Jeff Loeb is trying to do and I mean with almost everything I've read from him in things like Superman, Batman, where it's crazy out there Saturday morning cartoon stuff or like old school comic stuff, but with sort of a darker twist. I feel like Tom Taylor is actually better at that than Jeff Loeb is.
Interesting. Yeah, I haven't read that Superman Batman stuff.
Oh yeah, and it's just like crazier idea on top of crazier idea, all things that are fun if only they're not in canon but still not super well written. And I feel like what helps with Tom Taylor is it's never in continuity, it's always its own thing, which I really appreciate because with Jeff Loeb you get things like, well, we've got President Lex, which was a more or less or relatively like grounded idea, and then we end that whole thing with he just rampages in his big green robot suit because we're in Superman Batman and those stories are crazy and over the top. Like that should not have been in continuity. Like Search for Kryptonite probably shouldn't have been in continuity. You got like giant kryptonite doomsday and crap like that. Like that stuff is more fun if it's just a weird out there its own thing kind of story. But anyway, I just ran away with myself again. Austin, apologies. What was I talking about? I'm turning into an old man. Where was I?
Who am I again?
What was I talking about?
Evil.
But yeah, he's better. He's definitely better at this kind of crazy stuff. I forget what I was talking about. I will come back to it.
I wish I could help you, but it was such like a long wraparound.
It really was.
Where did this start?
Sorry about that. That was the kind of Christmas present that's like a marble that's in a giant box where you have to unwrap like all the layers before you get to the marble.
And then you open it up and it's just a gift card, and it's like it was wrapped all fancy to fool you.
Yeah, exactly. I'll think of it.
Yeah, you're good. God, where am I gonna look?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I remember what I was talking about. So the Tick.
That's right.
I want to know if he's seen this episode because there are too many parallels. So there's an episode of the Tick cartoon show in the second season called Grandpa Wore Tights. And it brings in a group of elderly superheroes called the Decency Squad that are telling the Tick and Arthur in an old folks' home a story like a bunch of different stories about their escapades around World War II. And there is a character who turns out to be the son of the Terror, who the Terror has sent to try to get information about the location of a secret doomsday device, an all-powerful device that has been buried someplace and the Terror wants his hands on it, and that thing is called the Desirovac, which is not a mind control device, but you put it on your head and you ask it for something, and it's like a genie with ultimate wishes. It gives you whatever you want. And it's exactly the same thing as this Justice Society plot, where you have these old timers that have that show back up and have to help out to, in that case, defeat an old villain with an old Doomsday device. So like that's a little bit different, and they're not being picked off like they are in this. But it's a weird number of coincidences.
Yeah, that's the episode that parodies the '90s Spider-Man arc, right?
The '90s Spider-Man arc.
There's the one with like the old heroes too, like the Wizards there, and that's where they fight Red Skull and bring.
Oh yeah, I guess it is kind of looking at that. And it's a little Watchmen in its way, just in that there's a first generation of heroes that are all elderly and not really doing that anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they all get Hollis Masoned.
No, see, that happens here. So there's like a weird cross between those two things. And there's even a character, and this is probably just a coincidence, but it made me laugh. There is a character in that called the Living Doll, who is a like living Russian doll, where you take the top part of him off, and then there's another version of him underneath, and there's a bunch of them, and there's a reference to one of those in this, to those kind of dolls. I was like, what?
Yeah, Russian nesting doll, yeah.
Like, I'm already thinking about Grandpa wore tights, and then that shows up.
That is weird. You need to go to a con and ask him about this.
I should. It's the only thing I'm going to ask him. I'll be like, are you a fan of the 90s animated tick? If he doesn't know, I'll be shocked. Absolutely shocked.
Don't even go further. If he says yes, just walk away.
Just walk away. Yeah, thought so.
Don't even elaborate.
I'll be like, Injustice Year Zero is Grandpa wore tights. Did you know that?
Yeah, that's what you say if you want to come out in like an attacking way.
Are you aware? Did you know that?
Don't you know?
Okay, so I read this tonight and didn't get a second read on it, so I might have missed something somewhere. There's discussion at the end about some of our characters leaving, like Wildcat, which is weird because I think Wildcat actually shows up in Injustice, but he should be missing because he's gallivanting around the multiverse unless he solved that and came back. I don't know. I'm confused about that.
When is he one of the ones that leaves at the end? I know.
I thought he did. Maybe not.
I thought it was just Alan Scott, Alan Scott's husband, and the Spectre, but maybe he's there too. I don't remember.
I thought he was.
I read this last night, and I'll admit, like, it hasn't stuck with me super well. It was kind of, I mean, you said it, like the kind of Saturday morning cartoon thing where it's like, not a story that I'm really thinking about.
All the way down to, we have the Hall of Justice from the Super Friends, and when we get to it, it basically says, meanwhile at the Hall of Justice, which I sort of appreciated. And then I think we destroyed it.
Yeah, Joker blows it up.
We
brought
like right
that
in
game.
just to blow it up. Anyway, so if I'm right about that, I guess that's the one kind of contradiction that I saw. But anyway, I was kind of confused because I thought those characters were actually being picked off, but killed, but I guess they were being sent to other universes.
So a few of them die, but it's when they're on the Watchtower, and he like snaps a few of them out of existence, and those are the ones that are like sent through the multiverse or whatever. Okay. Which I didn't really get a good sign of that until the end, because I was like, oh, he like teleported them to another place on Earth.
I'm not even sure how anybody knows that's what he did.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, does he explain that to anybody? It's like if Thanos did the snap and then it's like, well, no, they're all actually still alive. They're just, in another universe. Like, It felt a little retroactive and kind of hand-wavy.
Yeah, and felt like we're just kind of wiping the board fully with them. And I don't know, like maybe some of those characters come back later, so it's like, oh, these ones can't die, I guess.
Maybe that's the reason they did that. Because like I said, it reads a little intentionally cynical where it's like we have to lose our real heroes in favor of these, darker, moodier, conflicted modern heroes that maybe were never actually real heroes in the first. That's kind of how it read to me,
Mhm.
and we lose them to make them even more jaded. But then by the end, oh psych, they're not dead. But you're saying some of them actually died.
Yeah, like Sandman here,
I was gonna
and
say
what
there's
we're
at
looking
least
at.
somebody that gets full on stabbed, right?
Yeah, he dies.
With
Jay
like a
Garrick
Green
dies,
Lantern
and I
uh,
guess it's just those two.
blade. Okay, and then everybody else just gets seemingly evaporated, but then they're actually just in another
Mhm.
universe. Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking there was more, but because yeah, Joker fails to
Oh yeah,
kill
this is the place where that happens.
Wildcat, so I guess it really just is Sandman and Jay Garrick.
So I don't know how Green Lantern rings work, because
Mm.
Green Lantern rings know if you have enough willpower to choose you. Is it like actually the ring that chooses you, or is it the Guardians that send a ring to you? And are
I have
they
no
like?
idea. I thought it was just the ring.
I thought it was too. And are they like semi uh, telepathic, where they can read your mind or read your heart or something? The reason I'm asking is I wouldn't think that a Green Lantern could be mind controlled, because I would think that the character could, but I would think that the ring, as soon as it has a hint that you are no longer the person with the willpower that it shows, would just shut off or leave or something.
Yeah, and I guess like Parallax would be an exception because it's like the yellow like weakness of the Green Lantern thing.
Sure.
But
But I don't know enough about Green Lantern, so like maybe that's not a real loophole. But I wondered about that. I was like, wait a minute.
well, and even then, like we're so inconsistent with some of that stuff. Like even just whether characters can take a Green Lantern's ring off or not, that gets contradicted a lot in comics. And same with like whether people can put them on and use them.
It's sort of like the inconsistency of, can you pick up and use some other Jedi's lightsaber? I
Yeah,
was
for sure.
I was always kind of unclear about that whole thing.
Is that a thing? Yeah.
I thought it was. I thought in some things you had to be the Jedi that made the lightsaber to be able to wield the lightsaber, but
I know you have to be like a Jedi to use a lightsaber, so like maybe it's that. I
I mean,
don't know.
not according to the sequel trilogy.
Well, yeah, but I mean that's the sequel trilogy.
Maybe I'm wrong though. At one time I thought I read something that did that, but I can't tell you right now what it is. I'm not a big Star Wars guy, and it's not like
Yeah.
in a movie or something. I know there's something somewhere where I saw that, but
Yeah, there's no part where Han's like, Luke, you picked up the wrong lightsaber.
that's not how the Force works.
Ah,
For
they brought me back again.
Look, the only reason I brought that up was so that we could review every other thing
Well, now we have a
except
whole
for this.
saga to go through.
Like
because
we
we got
even
to talk about everything in Star Wars.
like we managed to get Indiana Jones and Star Wars in here.
And we
I'm
just need Blade Runner.
I'm very proud of that. I Austin has an amusing rant for us, and
Oh, yeah.
I'm very excited to hear about this. I had similar reservations.
Yeah, because I didn't tell Cap what it was, and then he sent me the exact panel, and he was like, "What?" And I was like, "Yes."
Yeah. How does this make any sense? Okay, great. Says Han used one in Empire. That's true, because he opens up the
hmm
uh
But I think it's just supposed to be like you can't fight with them. Like if you try to fight, like just Han like picked it up and just like sliced a thing. So I
yeah,
guess that's okay. I don't know. I don't care about Star Wars, but
he sliced up, what are those called? Like a
a
bantha?
tauntaun.
No, a tauntaun. There you go.
Yeah.
What's a bantha? That's a thing. The
I don't
hell is
know.
that?
I feel like isn't that one of the things they use a lot in insults? I guess not.
Oh,
'Cause I'm thinking of
maybe
like
it
Nerf
is. I
Herder
thought
or
it was some
something
kind
like.
of animal.
Well, no, I know, but like I feel like that also gets put in insult things. I don't know.
We should do a Geeks Not Nerds about how we're not geeks or nerds anymore. Like, we've lost all of our credibility. We don't even remember what the hell a bantha is, or if it's even a thing.
I don't know. I haven't cared about Star Wars in like 8 years.
Yeah, but you're supposed
It's
to
all
know that.
disappearing.
That's very important. I've decided. Hey, Austin, talk about Nazis.
Oh, good. My favorite topic. There's a point in this, and it's something that I've seen before and didn't know that it came from this, but I've seen people talk about it. And one of the Marvel DC crossovers that comes up there too. There's a part where our guy that kind of sets this up talks about the Nazis, and Joker's like, "Ugh, Nazis! I hate those guys. Like I'm an American, and because of that, I hate them damn Nazis."
Yeah, he's like, I'm psychotic, but I'm not bigoted.
Yeah, which is very, which is really weird. And something that I cannot buy the Joker saying in like any continuity, like ever.
Any continuity? No, he's all about chaos.
No, and the Joker wouldn't care. Like if he hates the Nazis, it's because they're an establishment, and he hates establishments.
Yeah.
I
Like,
don't
does
know.
the
It's just
Joker think of himself as American? Or if he does, it would be like, I love this country. It produced somebody as, insane and anarchistic as I am.
yeah, and I feel like Joker would only love America, like ironically.
Right.
Where he would. You think of stuff like that Dark Detective book that we did. Where he does like the parody Uncle Sam thing. Where it's like, if I think of the Joker being patriotic, it's stuff like that where he's like making fun of it. So like, I don't know, that just read weird to me. And obviously this is a different continuity and like a completely different thing. But like, I think it makes way more sense the way Dark Knight Returns handles it, where the Joker has a henchwoman that has like the swastikas on her chest, because like it's essentially just a way of like messing with people.
He likes getting a rise out of people.
Yeah, it's getting a rise out of people. Like it's like the Manson thing, right?
He
Where it's not necessarily
trolls
that he
you.
believes that ideology. It's that exactly, like, it gets a rise out of them. I don't know, just all of that played weird, and just the way it's written is strange. Where he's like, I'm American. Like, I would hate that. They do a thing like that in, like I said, one of the Marvel DC.
That's what Amalgamation was
crossovers.
saying, which I'd forgotten about. He says the first time, and of course it's Amalgamation, so yeah, he knows exactly where that is. He says the first time he saw that was in Batman Captain America.
Yeah, he meets Red Skull, and Red Skull mentions being a Nazi, and Joker's like, "What? A Nazi? I can't get down with that. I could have teamed up with you until I found out about that."
This reads like Tom Taylor trying to drive home just how evil Hitler is by trying to make Joker seem somehow less evil than Hitler.
Well, it's this weird place where I'm like, Joker's the bad guy. Like, it's okay for him to think things that aren't okay.
Right. Well, it just seemed like this weird kind of relative thing where it's like, I mean, it's kind of apples and oranges sorts of evil. Like, they're both evil. I don't think we need to have a comparison contrast exercise to decide who is more evil, the Joker or Hitler.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like, there's a couple moments like that in this book that I think just play off really weird. The other big one that I have is where Harley goes off with Poison Ivy, and we get a whole scene where Poison Ivy shows up to beat up Joker for being like a woman abuser, and she refers to him as a troll, like he's like a online like Twitter bully. And then there's another thing that she calls him after that when she's talking to Harley. It's another thing like that where I'm like, I just don't picture these characters saying things like that. Like, that's...
Did it feel like the book like making an intentional statement about things?
No, it read more like a writer that's like terminally online. I'm like, I don't hear the character anymore. I just hear like
me too,
a writer
but it just
who's like into this stuff.
It reads a little bit to me like I don't know, like protesting too much. Where, like you said, the Joker's the bad guy. Like he can do bad things. He can be evil. We don't need characters to. We don't need other bad guys to punish him for it. Or we don't need Joker as a bad guy to like hate Hitler to remind us of how horrible that guy was. Like,
yeah, it's just strange. And like I said, I don't think Joker would agree with the ideology of the Nazis. Like, I'm not saying that. Like, it's
no,
just
he doesn't have an ideology.
Moment.
That's the point.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if he were in Germany in the 40s, he would probably also, be doing crimes against them as well.
Yeah,
because that's just what he is.
Because
they're against establishment.
Yeah, because they're the state. This is also a full-page spread that then became the cover.
That's at least one of the better ones to become a cover.
It at least looks like a cover.
I actually had that when I was reading it. I was like, this looks like a cover, but it's not.
Yeah. So like
But I guess it was.
That's more okay. So when Harley Quinn runs off, I felt like it was, leaves the Joker. I felt like it was kind of convenient timing, where we've got to get rid of her because she's so on her own during Injustice, and it's a little convenient that would happen like during this story. And then she just goes back to him at the end. And I had forgotten that, well, no, she is still with the Joker at the beginning of that. So is the only reason that happens because Harley Quinn is so, like intentionally featured in Injustice that Tom Taylor cannot do one of these things without her having a subplot? And like we've got to give her a sense of her own agency before she really is going to run off and then become like basically a bona fide superhero during Injustice.
Yeah, it's really weird because she's basically a hero through Injustice, and I don't know if there's enough talk about how she essentially doomed the planet. But Harley's subplot in this is really weird because, I mean, it just feels like filler, and you're right, like, he likes writing Harley and she needs something to do. But she goes off, she's like, that's it, I'm gonna quit being with the Joker because he hurt me. He went too far this time. So she breaks Poison. I almost said Harley again.
Which just felt a little contrived to me. Because I was like, why is this all that much worse than anything he's ever done to you? I don't know if you had that.
Yeah, I guess. I don't. That was just one of those places where I'm like, I don't know how far Joker goes in this continuity. It's like, I don't know if I'm bringing things into it too much. Like, I was like, I don't really know where to judge it.
Yeah, that's fair.
But so she breaks Poison Ivy out, and then she's like, Poison Ivy, I need you to protect my daughter because I have a daughter. And Poison Ivy's like, no. And then they run off together, and then they get married in Vegas.
Yeah. Well,
Harley's
they don't
like,
get
I'm
married.
Go get back with the Joker. Like, the entire thing is so.
She proposes, so I assume they get married, but it's off panel, so like I don't actually know if that happens.
The entire thing's just so nonsensical. Like,
it's totally nonsensical.
And like the daughter thing never comes back. But she's also like, Poison Ivy, like, I need you to watch my daughter while I do things. And Poison Ivy's like, no. So they're like, okay, well, let's just go to Vegas
that must come up in Injustice somewhere.
It must be. That was the other thing that I was thinking.
Because I didn't remember that, so maybe it
must be a
one.
Big plot point there. Maybe that's how she has that turn. Maybe they do something with the daughter, or maybe she gets killed or something.
And then here she dresses up sort of like Jack Nicholson in '89.
I didn't even have that thought. Oh yeah, right there. Yeah,
she's got that coat and hat.
I was more distracted because like 3 panels earlier she had fully blonde hair, and now she had like the Margot Robbie hair.
Yeah,
what's weird?
Well, what's weird about this too is she's got like the straight pale white face with just the bright red lipstick. So it's like she's wearing the coat and hat that Jack Nicholson has, but her face is more like Alicia, like the hinge chick that he throws out a window.
Yeah.
Or that he says jumped out a window. We never actually see what happens to her, but she dies. Yeah. Yeah, I've always thought that too. So yeah,
as a kid, I just thought that was Harley because I didn't understand that came before it.
And by the way, if somebody ever wanted to run with this as a look for Harley Quinn, I would be all for it. I think it's cool, but it was just very odd. It just kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's better than a lot of modern Harley designs.
I think it's kind of neat. Or if you ever did a Harley Quinn that tried to take over for the Joker, this would be the way to do it, where it's like she steals part of his outfit, but wears her regular outfit underneath it. Like, that's cool. I'm all for that.
With her, it's very like Carmen Sandiego.
Yeah, that's true. Where in the world is Harley Quinn?
In Vegas.
Yeah, that whole thing was really just random and out there, and it felt like it was just trying to be kind of like provocative.
Yeah, it just felt like filler to me, where I was like, I don't know, like everything came to a halt to do this. And then, like I said, like our big plot is Joker's becoming a godlike being, and then he just gets beat up by Poison Ivy for a scene.
Yeah.
To own him. I don't know, it was all just very weird.
And Poison Ivy's got this speech to Harley Quinn that makes her motivation not line up to me with like any Harley Quinn continuity. Like I felt like something was off with several characters and motivations in this. That was one of my big takeaways. Was like Tom Taylor is orchestrating all of this, and he's falling into that prequel trap of, in trying to bring new things to the table, characters started in a place that does not line up with where they are later. In my mind, so Poison Ivy has this whole speech about how Harley Quinn thought she could like rehabilitate the Joker, like she's staying with him because she thinks she can make him less crazy. I don't know where that comes from. That doesn't match anything to, not an injustice or anything else. And like maybe the idea is because she's going to become a superhero later, she's gotta be like altruistic at the core. Mm-hmm. But clearly the Joker got to her, changed her, like enticed her to want to do the insane things that he does, and just sometimes he takes it far enough that she finds her humanity again and won't go along with it. She's got this line about how she's got moments of lucidity, so she either started off crazy or he made her that way, but the idea is like deep down, there's still a real person in there. There's still the psychologist that wants to change him. I never saw that in Harley Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you.
I feel like modern Harley, we work so hard to kind of undermine the victim thing to make her stronger. Where I think we've kind of lost the voice of that character at this point, which isn't a like hot take or anything. I feel like a lot of people think that, but I do think that is a big part of it. And I don't know. Personally, I'm also just done with the Ivy Harley pairing. I'm ready for those characters to stop being a thing. When they showed up, I was like, "Oh, we got to do this," and then that issue just got worse and worse as it went along, and I was like, "Okay."
One of the other many things you would hate about the HBO Harley Quinn show.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But yeah,
I mean, maybe there's a way to win me over on that idea. Like, I guess I could sort of see it. It's just that blindsided me. I don't remember that anywhere.
Just that idea of her being there to redeem the Joker, basically.
Yeah, like just waiting for him to turn over a new leaf or something. Like, I thought she was corrupted by the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
Was the idea. You could flesh that out to where that is what happens, but there's this secret part of her that's really the reason she's there. But Poison Ivy talks about it like it's obvious, and it's just a thing that she's in denial about or just won't talk about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. That just, like I said, kind of read to me in like that modern DC thing where I think they've kind of separated themselves from that like abusive. Oh my god, what is that? Mad love thing.
Yeah.
Like I feel like they've hit a point where they're like, to be like a strong female character, she needs to not have that as much. Like we need to kind of rework that.
Yeah, which is why we have her just divorced from the Joker much of the time now.
Yeah, where she's just female Deadpool. But
I don't like the female Deadpool thing, but you can do like a post-romance thing if you feel like you've really got to have a stronger Harley, and that she's popular enough she can go off and be on her own. Like, I guess that's okay, but...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. No, I feel like we've separated them and we don't know what to do with her.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so much of the time. But that's like a whole giant issue, just DC in general.
Well, that's why I actually really kind of liked the take that Cape Crusader had with her, and in her being a psychiatrist that is secretly insane and belongs in Arkham, which weirdly is also sort of the way the Birds of Prey TV show did her. And I kind of wish that they weren't doing the Joker in that show. I kind of wish it was just Harley Quinn.
Yeah, I don't have that part of it, but I really like their Harley, and part of it is because it's so much of a reinvention. I think I said when we did the spoiler cast, like it's the reinvention I think that character always needed if you were going to do her as a separate character.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of cool that she she doesn't develop because of the Joker at all. So it'll be
Mhm.
interesting when we do things with him, if they do team up, or what we do with them. I kind of think they won't. I kind of think it'll be more like a, they go to war or something. But
That'd be cool. Like Josh said in the chat, Cape Crusader is the best thing that's happened to Harley in years.
I will tie it with Harleen because I think that book is really good.
Yeah, I'm thinking I might pick that up on sale because you've always told me that's really good.
I'm worried you'll read it and not like it, but I stand by it. I think it's excellent.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like hate Harley on principle. Like there are Harley things I like.
No,
But
I don't line up on everything, so you may not care for it. I don't know, but I was
yeah,
impressed with it. It's the best Harley origin I've read.
it's got a beautiful cover. Like that's half of it. I'm
It's
like,
got beautiful artwork, man.
mhm.
It may be my favorite looking of the Black Label books.
Yeah,
Maybe,
that's cool. And well,
but
and
yeah,
Black Label's got some great stuff. I don't know.
it does. That's why I'm not sure if I'm right about that. I'm trying to think of other things, but I do like it a lot. But yeah, so that whole thing was weird.
We're just still
Uh,
reviewing everything else.
we're somehow already almost at an hour. We didn't talk about this. This reads fast. I kind of expected it to be a little bit longer.
Yeah, I was a little worried about it because obviously I knew it wasn't going to actually be 14 issues, but I was like, I'm going to start it last night. Then I'll read the last half today, and then I ended up just plowing through it in like an hour and a half.
Um, yeah, I mean it's not horrible, but I wasn't real impressed with it. It's definitely a thing that I would recommend people read after they've read Injustice. I don't think it's a good starting place.
Mhm.
It feels like such an afterthought. And prequels are
Yeah, just
hard because they are afterthoughts after all.
yeah, I don't know. It felt like it was kind of there. Like it's something that I don't know if I'll remember having read in like a year or two, but which isn't necessarily like an awful thing. Like I didn't love this while reading it. I thought it was kind of like blah, but um, like you said, it's not the worst thing ever. Like I'm not angry about it. It's just kind of like,
it's
this is a thing that exists.
it's a little superfluous. I think
Yeah, that's exactly it.
I think if you think about it too hard, it does undermine some things in Injustice a little bit,
Hmm.
particularly Superman's arc. And I also think that doing a a connection to World War II like that in evoking Hitler is just very on the nose with the fascism theme
Hmm.
with Injustice. Although it could have been worse because as soon as I saw that's where it was going, I thought this was going to be a time travel story. I was really glad we didn't do that.
Oh, they should have done that, and then Superman would have been like, I don't know.
The real diverging point in making this a what if is that Superman went back in time and dealt with Hitler, and at first was like, "This is why dictatorships and fascism and seeing yourself as a god lording over people is bad." And then Lois gets killed, and he's like, Hitler had some good ideas."
Well, I think it's actually an Elseworld. It's not a what if. It's an Elseworld in which the Joker's like, that Hitler guy, somebody should do something about him. I don't like him. And then Superman's like,
Oh, thematically lining up with Injustice, though, there is one really good scene in the first issue, or maybe the second issue,
Mhm.
with Superman and Batman standing on the Watchtower, and each of them having a different take on what it means to be a superhero looking down at the Earth. I thought that exchange was great.
Yeah, for sure. There's a few little character moments like that that I would think worked. Some of the connections we do with the JSA, uh, I think are pretty good. Like I liked how they dealt with Barry and Jay Garrick, as well as Batman
Oh,
and
sure. Wildcat?
Wildcat.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Mhm.
But you get this great conversation where Superman or where Batman's like, I don't like. I mean, it sets up everything about their conflict later, like their opposing ideologies. Where Batman says, I don't like standing up here looking down on the Earth, because it's like we're separating ourselves from regular people and looking down from Olympus. And he doesn't say that, but that's the gist. And then Superman says, well, I do like doing that because it gives us a sense of perspective and reminds us that everybody down there at the end of the day are connected and going through the same struggles, and you get away from all of the dumb things that divide us. It's great because they're both right.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure. I guess, like, in a way, it's kind of, the microcosm of Tom Taylor as a writer.
Yeah.
In that, he's very, like, a working man writer at DC. Like, I don't think that's, like, an insulting thing to say. Like, it's a lot of his projects is they throw things at him, and they're like, this is your assignment. And
he's also very consistent.
That's what I was going to say.
Tom Taylor is not I didn't like this as well as some other things by him, but I don't think he's a hit or miss writer. Now, I've heard, again, that this goes off the rails at some point, but I feel like his stuff is pretty consistent in its quality. That he writes, in a particular fashion.
Yeah, and even when something's not great, like, there'll be, like, little moments where it's like, oh, this is pretty good. Little character beats and stuff. Unless it's Wonder Woman. His Wonder Woman always sucks.
That is not incorrect. Yeah. Amalgam Nation. I read this immediately after year 2 and liked it. Oh, okay. I got the idea that he started with it. He didn't. This introduced me to Justice Society, actually. Also, I remember loving seeing more of this true Superman before he went too far. And he also says, come to think of it, this introduced me to Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy as a thing too. Oh, interesting. Okay.
I'm trying to think. This is probably, like, right around when that, like, really kicks off. Like, obviously that goes back to the animated series, but
Amalgam Nation, are you, like, a lot younger than I am, and you just happen to somehow come to Amalgam, like, way later? I just wonder about that. Okay, any final thoughts about this, Austin?
not offhand, no. It's fine. Like, it's very much just a cartoon
that wants to be real dark in places, like Injustice. Okay,
and gets, like, kind of weird in places.
Next week for the ReQuest, we're doing something that people are going to be really excited about. Something that people have been begging me to talk about for years that I have had zero interest in. And that I've seen a couple of episodes of, and I thought it was fine. This is a very past my time kind of thing, but people are still trying really hard to win me over on this. Okay, do you have a guess?
Is it something that's more like my generation?
Yeah.
Is it a superhero thing, or just like... And it's a cartoon, I'm
It's
guessing.
a cartoon, yeah. So, Michael McAllister asked us to do 4 episodes of Avatar.
Oh. That's also, I would say, like, a little bit past my time. Or at least, at the very least, I missed it when it was on. That's something my siblings really like.
Oh, that's true. That's even, like, it's past my time, and it's a little past yours.
Well, it's probably, like, closer to my time. It's just I didn't watch it when it was on.
You just didn't see
and
it.
And then came to it kind of too late, and I was like, eh.
I
mean, it's not a bad show. It's
he's 28. Okay, so he's, what, close to your age, Austin?
Yes, I had to think about that.
But he accidentally somehow wrote that he was 12 first, which really cracks me up. He wrote, I'm 12. Sorry, 28.
You should have just held it. You should have been like, no,
I wish he just bold-faced lied about that. That's very funny. So yeah, finally doing some Avatar next time. We'll see if that show finally clicks with me somehow. Jason's a fan of that.
Yeah, every time all my siblings get together, there's like a point where all 3 of them, I guess all the siblings on my dad's side, they all get together and they start talking about Avatar, and everyone else at the family dinner is like... I mean, it's a good show. I'm not like disparaging it.
Yeah, I didn't think it was a bad show when I saw a little bit of it. It just wasn't my thing. I don't know. I just couldn't get excited about it.
Hmm. Yeah, because Dan's Den says that he's older than me, but he watched it from beginning to end. It's more that I don't think I saw it till I was like the end of high school. Like, and by that point, I was kind of like, eh.
Amalgamation says he got into comics in 17.
Oh wow.
And it started then really slow, but now he reads like crazy. I gotta be honest with you, I'm a little shocked with that username and that he keeps requesting amalgam things that he's not closer to my age. Like, I just somebody coming to that stuff, later that young. That's a little surprising to me.
And then he responded, "I am 12."
Yeah, he's 12, but he got into comics in 2017.
Well, because of like the way he wrote it, all I could think of was like the "I am inevitable" and "I am 12."
he was like 5 when he got into comics.
Yeah, that's the time.
All right, so Avatar for next time. Again, we've got a backlog right now, but if you'd like to get into the queue, patreon.com/geekvolution. The $15 tier lets you request some comics or a couple episodes of a TV show, usually a pilot in like the next episode, but we're open to different things, or a movie. And $30 tier lets you pick a commentary. We've got a couple commentaries that we need to get to, and we'll try to do that in the not too distant future. I don't know how much through December I'm going to be working. I may have to take a short hiatus with family things and travel and stuff. Certainly the last couple weeks of December, but even earlier, I'm not sure how much through the month I'm going to be working. So I'll let folks know when we get a little closer. But anyway, thanks a lot for watching, everybody. We sure appreciate it. And Austin and I, like I said, are going to continue streaming tonight, going through some more of our top 100 favorite superhero movies of all time. So stick around if you're so inclined, if you're watching right now, and if you're watching after the fact, that both of these streams will be up, so you can move right on to that if you are so inclined. Amalgamation, Austin, Cap, you will review year 2 and on up until 12.
Yeah, year 12.
Year 12? They didn't make that many.
We have to do it all the way up until Batman year 100.
Oh, okay. It's not like those exist all in between, Austin.
Well, we'll make it happen. Get Tom Taylor on the phone. He's got to do all of the years.
Yeah, but he's got to do them out of order. He's going to make like year 97 and then year 53.
Oh, no.
All right, thanks for watching, folks. We'll see you again real soon. I was Captain Logan, and this was Austin, the Day Ghost.
Bye, everybody.